Welcome back, everyone, to the World Swiss Stage live from the KBS Arena in Seoul, Korea. As we can see the fans filing in, there's so much cool stuff for them to do, and a lot of them look absolutely amazing. All of them, especially when you're wearing that shirt. Yes, I said it. So today we are going into our 2-0 matches, and we find out our first two teams that can go directly to the quarterfinals here at Worlds. My name is Shox, joined by Jat and by Azael as we get into our first best of threes of the Swiss Stage.
Yeah, I feel like we get to take a little bit of a deep breath today. It's a slightly later start time. There's only 4 unique teams playing instead of 16. And
NA is going undefeated.
Yes, we can't lose a single game today. But it's going to be really exciting. Another quick note about the bracket here is the 2 teams that win today will be the first and second seed for the eventual bracket draw, and they will not be allowed to be on the same side of the bracket. So whoever wins today could only face each other in the finals.
And I think that's so awesome because we've had a lot of these brackets where one side feels much more stacked than the other, and people are frustrated, feeling like the hardest match was the semifinals.
Yeah.
And I think the system is going to help us to avoid that.
Absolutely. First best of threes, and as a short reminder, tomorrow then we'll play the 1-on-1 matches, and then the day after that, we will go into the elimination best of threes as well to say goodbye to some teams in the Swiss Stage, unfortunately. But today, it's all happiness. Before we get into the matches, though, I want to bring back a little segment we did, I believe, last year as well, Fantasy Draft. So each person on the desk will be able to choose from the available players today, which is everyone playing today, in a snake draft. Now, the only catch is that we need to pick at least one person from each team to do so. We did rehearsal, and I got to start. So maybe Azael gets to start now.
Okay.
That's
also,
fair.
you can vote on twitch.tv/riotgames who you think got the best team.
All right, well, this is not even hard. First pick in the draft, I'm going Ruler.
All right.
The
You
want Ruler?
absolute GOAT.
I mean, I know a lot of people said he's the best player at the World Championship, but he's in the league.
Yeah, I said that. That's me. I'm people.
He's in the league that didn't even win the MVP of his league, so I'm going Scout, actually. The LPL MVP. Also, so far to me, the MVP of Worlds.
You didn't even pick the best mid laner with the first mid lane pick.
He's the MVP of the LPL.
Yeah, which mid laner won the LPL, Jat?
Just wait.
You know,
Just wait. LPL already happened. I
Knight
don't have to
had
wait.
Ruler on his team. How is he going to lose?
Yeah, so my pick was the best.
Jat knows very well I wanted Scout. That's who I chose in rehearsal. But you know what? I'm going to take one for the team, and maybe strategic. I'm going to do Mickey. Because
Oh,
I'm thinking ahead. It needs to be one person from each team. I'm just saying.
that's a
So
clever
Ruler's
pick.
picked.
And you
I'm
get
taking
it's a
Mickey
snake, so you got 2 picks.
And 369.
We picked Scout. You got Mickey and 369.
Yes. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's
And
looking good on the
369.
top and the bottom end, I got to say.
Man, this is tough. I'm going, I would love to see a Scout Peanut reunion, so I'm going Peanut.
Okay.
Not reunion, but I just want to see him on the same team.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go then.
I
I'm
get
going to
two.
go with Kanavi and Zika.
Okay.
So I'm going to write this down. I got Zika,
Oh, it's already my turn again.
and I got Kanavi. Who do I have to scratch out for you here, Jat?
Yeah, I mean, low-key, I think Delight is very underrated, so I'm going to go Delight.
Okay. I'm going to go Paze
Okay.
and Tarzan. So I think that's good.
Yeah, so I need a G2 player, right?
Yeah.
And I already have my jungle, mid, and support picked.
Oh, who did I forget?
Yeah, so I'm just going to say there is one player on G2 who has never lost a split as a bot laner, and that's Caps. So I'm picking Caps, and I'm throwing him bot lane.
Oh, no. Okay, wait. Who did you pick? Oh, okay, so Chovy's still open, so I'm still good. So you took Caps.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take then Chovy and Hong. Perfect. I like my team. My team is stacked.
Are you telling me Knight's still open for me?
Yeah, no, I'm taking Knight, and I'm putting him top lane.
I think that makes the draw. Wait, what? You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't make a draw invalid
Well,
for
no,
me when
you
you
just
have a
have to.
different choice.
You just have to put someone
I
mid.
win.
I have to put someone
Gala
mid.
can go mid. Hansama can go mid.
Broken Blade's going mid.
Okay, there we go. Sounds fun.
Well, I think I win by default.
Your team is probably the best, but I have 3 mid laners, and that is the hardest position. So I have 3 of the best players on my team.
Sure. You're going to lose, though.
How did Caps
It's a
do
super
when he
team.
went bot?
He
last
won the
time?
split.
That's true.
True,
That is
true,
actually the
true.
best caveat.
Yeah. He's
All right.
never
Awesome.
lost.
There you go.
Okay, you can vote on twitch.tv/riotgames to think who you want. I put Mickey and I chose him first, okay? I put him first.
True.
Oh, wait,
say.
I didn't choose someone from G2, so my draft was invalid,
Oh,
too.
you lose. So it's between Jad and I think.
I had to pick someone. Well, I could have It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hans-Sama's got
I
to go
spaced
somewhere.
out. Yeah, would have put Hans-Sama
We'll
in
do
there.
this again later
Yeah.
when you understand the rules.
Yeah,
as
my
they are.
bad.
All right, cool. Anyways, moving into our first matchup of the day, we've got a best of 3 coming up, which is a LPL Finals rematch between JDG and LNG, and we caught up with JDG's Knight in the Verizon Game Day interview.
JDG defeats VDS in their first victory of the tournament here, and I have mid-laner Knight with me to talk about this one. Ni hao. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tell me about the preparation against VDS, because we saw that their top laner Adam play some weird champions. So how did this influence the preparation, especially when it comes to drafting and banning champions?
首先，恭喜你们拿到了在本次世界赛的一个首胜，也感谢你接受我们的一个采访。想问一下，今天对阵到 BDS 的一个整体准备是怎么去做的？尤其是当对面的上单 Adam 选手，他可能会玩一些比较奇特的一些英雄。那针对这一点的上，你们在阵容选择上的时候有没有说特别去注意呢？
其实打他们也是很注意他们上单吧，就他们的上单英雄就比较特色吧，就还有注意他们中野胜率比较高的英雄就都ban掉了。
Yeah, definitely. We pay a lot of attention to Adam's champion pool, and also we put a lot of attention to their mid jungle as well. So we ban out some the champions that they're really good at.
And it looks like you had the right approach, which is something you had all year long, winning so much. How do you adjust the goals you had, especially after winning so many tournaments and games this year?
其实，在今年我们看下来了之后 ，JDG 已经拿了相当多的冠军，已经取得了非常多很不错的一个成绩。想问一下，在这一路来，你们的一个心态调整，包括说你们的一个目标设置又是怎样的呢？
我觉得我们舰队目标一直都是冠军吧，所以我们心态上一直都很好的，都是朝着冠军就前进。
There has been one and only goal that since the beginning, since the foundation of this team, winning everything, winning the champion. So there's only one goal for us, and we're all heading to it.
And you actually might be the very first team in League of Legends history to win everything, the Golden Road, as we call it. Do you think you can get there? And what would it mean to you as a League of Legends player to be the very first one in history to get this one?
其实现在你们距离真正的大满贯非常非常接近了，也有可能是第一支在英雄联盟的历史上面能够完美的达成这个大满贯，我们也是叫黄金之路的这样的一支队伍。所以说，你觉得能不能够达成这个目标，以及说如果真的达成了这一切的话，那对你来讲意义又是什么呢？
我觉得今年也是特别有希望的一年吧，因为我们队友都非常强，然后到现在大家状态都比较好。如果能成功大满贯的话，那就感觉。 就我也是那种中单比较强的选手吧。
I would say it's a very hopeful year for us. 5 of us, we're all very strong, and our performance so far are really good. So if I really hit that goal, probably I can say that I'm one of the best mid laners as well.
Well, wishing you the best of luck in the tournament, Knight. Xie. Thank you so much for the interview. And Iris, thank you so much for the translation.
Yes, thank you so much for that. That was a few days ago, of course. Lovely to hear from Knight, and such a one-track focus. I mean, this is what the team was built for, and they haven't dropped the ball yet. Who did, though, was Jad. Because according to the stats, I won the Twitch poll. I drafted the best team. 48% to 39% to 13%.
Wait, I got 13%. I had the All-Star team.
That was invalid. So 13% of people are wrong.
Yeah. Or maybe you just like me more.
39% people voted for the triple mid laner team.
Yeah. Actually, that is very impressive. Regardless, though, no longer about this draft. We're going to see all these amazing players today, starting with 2 amazing players in the mid lane in LNG versus JDG. We heard from Knight. We got to talk about Scout. He was your first pick, Azael, and, I think we can easily say that he has been the best player at Worlds so far.
He has been really incredible. Got us his ear in back-to-back games, only died once, really was the carrying force for LNG across both these games. And this guy is so consistent. He's so flexible. That's why he was the MVP in the LPL regular season. And it's why, largely in part, his team was able to push JDG to 10 games across 2 BO5s.
Yeah, 2021 world champion as well. So no sign of world jitters or lack of confidence to go for big plays. He's been all in on pretty much any opportunity. Only died literally that one time directly after the pause in the C9 game when they picked him over the Baron pit. So he has been an absolute force.
Speaking of that death, he is getting cheeky in interviews, Scout.
I'm here for it.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, he put out on Instagram, tactical pause, LOL, after the game, which is definitely pretty funny, but Tactical pause or not, it was not enough to take down LNG. They're able to beat Cloud9. You know, that was a pretty competitive game, but LNG, you know, really showcased their strength in late game, and that has kind of been the difference for me in a lot of these series, is how good these top Eastern teams are at team fighting.
Exactly. Azael, do you want to dive a bit deeper into it, maybe into JDG and their team fighting?
Absolutely, I'd love to. I mean, so many people are talking about, you know, JDG on the Golden Road, their ability to team fight. What really makes them special is that team fighting. So I want to go back to the semifinals in the LPL. It's game 1 here against BLG. I'm going to highlight some things. So 369 is pushing bot. You know, he was seen down bot, pushing that up. So BLG are going to be looking to start up the Baron. They're going to be looking for a turn. You can look at the initial positioning. There's a ward over here. So Missing and Ruler, who have actually just come from mid lane, you know, have been spotted there. And BLG are getting ready to turn. You have Kanavi here. You have Knight here. So kind of just trying to get ready for a possible engage. With that TP being spotted up towards topside, BLG elect to actually turn away quickly and try to preempt the engage. They're looking for a fight here immediately. So keep your eyes over here. You're going to see the engage coming out from this side over onto Ruler as BLG are going to look to turn. Shun finds the ultimate down here onto Ruler. So now track from this moment. Ruler's in trouble, has no sums. He did just get ulted by the Sejuani, and the ulti, you know, is going to be followed up on by BLG. They're all massing in this spot to look to pile forward. Keep your eyes on Missing, though, right here as I'm going to unpause. Missing immediately steps forward, puts up the wall, gets a 3-man ulti across all of these members, creating space for them. Also, eyes on Kanavi. Kanavi is moving back here to assist Ruler, who's going to be kiting back. You can also, on the other side, see where Knight is. Knight is actually looking to section off both the carries here, who have been slowed down by the support and Missing. So Yagao and Elk are both trying to push forward, but they're going to be staved off there by Knight. Now, as they're trying to get past here, you see Ben flashes past Missing, and he's going to get right in on top of Ruler in the back line. So flashes in on top of him, and is going to look for a stun. Now watch how quickly both Kanavi from here and Missing respond as soon as Ruler is under threat. So when I unpause, there's the flash stun. Immediately, Missing flash W's onto him. Kanavi ward hops, or excuse me, W safeguards over the wall and immediately kicks Bin away for the disengage. Again, at the same time, Knight pushing up here onto Yagao and Elk, keeping them back. And you can also see the line of feathers there that are coming down from Ruler with that ultimate. Now, cooldown usage is something that's so important in team fights, and notice how even with Ruler now at low health and multiple people there, he didn't immediately pull back on the feathers. He waits until this perfect moment because Knight is pushing both these carries in on this side, and now as everyone is grouped up here, we're going to unpause and watch this feather pull there. Straight through, gets all 5 members from BLG, had the patience. 369 arrives, Knight arrives, they crush through the team fight, and you can only do this because of the absolute coordination, the absolute trust in your teammates to delay these abilities, that everyone is going to do their job perfectly at the same time. They're like one mind controlling 5 characters, and I think it's incredible that they're able to pull off team fights like this, even though 369 was basically never a part of it.
And I think that's one of the big things that makes them the favorites for this World Championship. They are on the Golden Road. They've won both LPL splits. They've won MSI. But I will say LNG, of all teams in the world, have come the closest to being able to defeat them. They went to 5 games twice, early in the round of playoffs and also in the summer finals. And if I had to pinpoint some of the things they were able to do in their JDG wins, even though it's only 40%, that's actually really good against JDG. Yeah. One thing is Tarzan ganks a lot, and the individual laning skills of Scout and GALA limit the amount of lead that Ruler and Knight can individually get in the laning phase, so they can stay close enough in the game and then still win the team fights about 40% of the time.
And something that really impresses me about LNG is their patience. They're so good at actually pouncing on mistakes and punishing any individual errors. So if JDG does get a little bit over aggressive, as you know, that's one of the things that they do sometimes fall in the trap of, is being maybe a little bit overconfident. LNG always feels like they're in the perfect spot to punish.
But it did come very close between these 2 teams, and especially in the best of 3s, I think LNG can feel confident. Maybe it's them that booked their ticket to the quarterfinal. It's going to be difficult, but it's time for the first qualification matches of the World's 2023 Swiss stage. 2 spots in the quarterfinals are on the line. Let's kick off the LPL Finals rematch between JDG and LNG.
我觉得对于自己来说，没有比冠军还有兴趣或者是兴奋的事情吧。
我 觉得很多队想击败我们也正常吧，因为我们拿下了之前所有的冠军，但我们也不会给他们这个机会就击败我们的。
They're just playing with their food. They don't even need to fight the JDG. They're gonna take down the best of one.
我觉得虽然可能直接3杠0会比较好看一些，但是我觉得我们队友需要更多的进步。想要变成最厉害的选手的话，需要不停的努力坚持吧。
面对FLICKR的话，就在LPL也和他交手过很多次，我也非常了解他。这次面对他，我也会击败他的。
I've always wanted to win Worlds. Ever since I became a pro player, that was just my sole focus. After a lot of failures at Worlds, I felt like maybe we just weren't good enough.
흔들리지 않았고요. 한 번도 저를 의심한 적 없고. 그럴 때마다 경기가 아쉽게 되어서 증명하지 못해서 저에게 아쉬웠을 뿐이지 이번에는 증명하려고 많이 준비해왔습니다.
The last few years, I have regained my confidence. I really think that I need to step up big time if I want to see the World's Trophy for myself, but also for Europe.
And G2, they're able to take the fight in a huge manner. Triple kill for Hansama.
I know that I need to just shoot my shot and aim for the throne.
저에게 왕관이 씌워진다면 그 무게를 버틸 준비가 충분히 되어 있습니다.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 3 of the Swiss stage. I'm Atlas, I'm back, and I'm with Kobe and Chronicler today. I wonder whether we're going to get a fourth. There's been a lot of invading commentators.
Yeah. Okay,
perhaps we'll get another one. We're
set up our defense right now. So no one is coming in here. You box out on the left side, you box out on the right side, and I'll just come over the top with a haymaker. Nobody's getting in here.
This is our desk. Exactly. But there is a place where people are getting into, and that is the knockout stage, because we are promoting 2 teams out of the Swiss stage today. The victor of this one, the LPL Finals rematch.
Yeah.
JDG and LNG. It's come around pretty quickly, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Best of 3 as well, and we know that's going to go the distance. If you have plans after Worlds today, make sure that you give at least leeway for 5 games. There is no way we get less than that, okay?
Definitely.
No way, he says.
No way.
And no universe out there. It never happens.
There isn't a universe with that possibility.
I mean, honestly, re-watching the playoffs from LPL, both best of 5s were so winnable possibilities there for LNG. So I'm extremely excited to see them match up again. I think a couple things already coming into the draft, since we've seen so many matchups with them. One of the big inconsistencies actually with mid laner champion pools. Knight, as good as Knight is, as amazing as Knight is, he simply does not play Azir, which is completely opposite to almost all of the other premier mid laners in the world. And yet, we've seen Scout absolutely dominate so far at the tournament. Possibly the most dominant player in the first couple of days at this tournament on the Azir. JDG might have to ban it away, reducing a little bit of their flexibility. The Maokai also might be weighing on them as well. But let's get right into that champion select. I'm so excited. Let's get it started.
I can't wait, because it's the drafts that have made me the most excited about these 2 teams. Like you say, Game 5 in that final, super winnable, but also LNG's draft was super creative, really fun to see. You know, the Ziggs coming in, the Lilia coming in, and I just can't wait to see what's going to happen. Let's get into it.
And straight up, there's that Azir ban. There's the Maokai. And they know, and they have to, because I do think that as good as LNG is, Scout to me is such a standout player, but LNG hasn't been able to consistently match the thing that the desk was talking about, the cohesion of JDG. We have cast so much Ruler over the years, and Ruler is a very simple guy. He wants everyone to play for him, and I think that if you have players with the caliber of specifically 369 and missing, it makes sense, right? And the way that they've been able to enable him has been such a difficult nut for every opposing team to crack. And there you see the Xayah ban as well. Even though I believe in the Ziggs as a counter.
Kai'Sa pretty big priority right now, as well as some of the top lane. We both have the K'Sante as well as Jax available. Orianna has been premier when the Azir is banned away.
Ooh. Have to see what Scout decides to go towards. Is Jace, of course, a big favorite of his, still up and available, means that Tarzan can pick up one of his more AP-focused junglers that he's so good at. But Alistar and Kai'Sa are both left available. Purple bottom lane could be coming through here if GALA and Hung would like to lock those away.
I mean, the GALA pickup was huge for them. It's in a Xayah Kai'Sa meta. Only one is available. I say grab that as quickly as you can, and they lock it in for him. Gonna set themselves up with that possibility, Atlas. Purple bottom lane, indeed. It's quite a powerful one here. Hong has been so good with the initiations for this team. Now for JDG, though, are they going to try and lock in something for Ruler before it gets taken away? Or are they going to drop AD carry all the way to 4-5?
And I'm actually wondering to see if they want to go for the J4 again. I don't think Kanavi individually looked that clean on it, but it is obviously really strong when combined with the Ori. Instead, though, it's going to be Devi, also a very potent combo at locking down that Kai'Sa.
Exactly. Ultimate into ultimate. Direct delivery for shockwaves here for Kanavi, for JDG. And what's it going to be? Are they going to drop Ruler's pick? They could go for support here, unless they really need to get the king. You mentioned Ruler wants them to play for him. They're going to get something here quick.
And it's looking like a Zeri angle potentially, leaving the support pick up in the air as well. Of course, Ruler, an absolutely exceptional Zeri player. We've seen Zeri on this patch has been less oppressive. It's been less of that pick Zeri, get very upset in Twitch chat situation.
There was a 5 base move speed nerf that's actually decently significant for the champion, but didn't drop it down too much. Still has that pentakill possibility here.
Did that just happen? Okay,
yes, so another one. Akali, baby. Chovy did it yesterday.
I don't know whether I really liked it when Chovy picked it yesterday. That gave me a few palpitations of the heart, but Scout is going to lock it in. It could be for Zika as well. We've seen a lot of top laners practicing the Akali on this patch, but I'm very interested to see how this one's going to go, because it was Akali into Orianna that Chovy played it yesterday.
So obviously Akali early on never really gets CS leads, is going to get pushed in. The Orianna should have priority, but Akali has a couple of advantages. It's very, very difficult to gank because of the Shroud, because of the mobility on the champion, as well as being able to scale into side lane advantage over Orianna. And we saw that last time around. Chovy being able to recover from the early CS deficit, being able to be a monster in those side lanes, assassinate, and make the Orianna very scared to go anywhere without the rest of the team. But I don't think JDG ever is going to go anywhere without the rest of the team. They're building for a 5-on-5 fight.
And already we're seeing 4 top laners being taken away here. No actual attention being paid.
Sante is the one.
Yeah, that's you gotta go for it, right? You gotta imagine, especially with the Gwen ban. But I feel like JDG must have an answer as well, because the K'Sante on R4, I think here is the most obvious pick that you could go for.
So you're saying it's too obvious? It's a trap?
Well, it must be. You must have an answer. But LNG can also just not take the risk and instead have faith in Zika to go for a counter against what I assume will be K'Sante, pick up the Lee for Tarzan instead. And
it's the classic Akali Lee Sin combo. It used to be a lot more powerful before, stopping the Lee Sin from being on the opposite side of the Akali, but there's been a few reworks since then. The K'Sante that you were talking about being picked up here for 369, big burly top laner. Absolutely what we're expecting, especially with the fact that Ruler has the defense of the Orianna and he's on this scaling AD carry. This is looking like a very JDG draft at this point in time. And quite a few things to look out for. I like the Rel option, add a little bit more frontline for Ruler to play around.
The Renata hover was also very interesting because Renata has been so good with all of these teams that have hard initiation. Renata, really good counter-engage ultimate, but as well the bailout has been massive so far. They're just going to go with the tried and true, though, the Lulu with the Zeri.
And I think the benefit of Lulu, on level 1, you can actually be really oppressive with Zeri, particularly into Alistar, who is quite weak. The downside is this means for JDG, your only reliable engage is a Vi ultimate. If you would have picked a Rel, would have had a little bit more opportunity in the mid-game to try and start up fights. Now, What is the counter going to be towards this Cassante?
Personally, I really like the Camille way more than the Fiora because it really allows LNG to play side lanes here. Since JDG is going to be playing straight up 5-on-5, they've got a Lulu comp, an Orianna comp. They have massive, massive advantage in supportive skills here with all of those extra shields. For the rest of the team, LNG basically have to play side lanes. They have to make space on the map for Akali to pick people off, and Camille Ultimate is a perfect tool to try and facilitate those picks.
Not only that, I think that with Kai'Sa especially, as once you hit level 2 on the Killer Instinct, the ability to set up immediate picks inside lane, particularly with the Camille, or if Tarzan can get a kickoff on someone, it's so hard to deal with.
This is going to be a classic. JDG have constructed a fortress here, and will LNG be able to split them apart?
And these are my favorite kinds of drafts. Drafts when you've got both teams with very different win conditions, right? The 1-3-1, like you were talking about, something that is a lot more difficult to pull off these days against JDG doing their favorite thing, which is get 5 people together and find an opposing team to rumble.
I always feel like it is also a little bit of added extra difficulty for the team that is trying to play side lanes and play the map, that you do usually need to get an early advantage so that you can be the one opening up the space, because if the 5-on-5 team just gets the advantage and starts getting early neutral objectives, the game is set up right now that it's pretty easy to draw you to consecutive Dragons, consecutive Rift Heralds, over to Baron. So let's see if LNG can do it.
Yeah, if you're winning side lanes as the teamfight team, there's probably something going wrong for the 1-3-1 squad. But there are so many tools here, and it's Tarzan on his Lee Sin. He was incredible on this very, very recently. Just looked amazing. Let's jump onto Summoner's Rift here for our very first game of the day. A best of 3, remember, ladies and gentlemen. JDG up against LNG, rematch of the final. And remember, guys, you can connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming to grab the exclusive experimentation emote. And you can display your Heimerdinger love.
And as we take a look here, both AD carries actually starting with Cole. My expectation is that both junglers want to start on top side, because to me, this bot lane is the key to victory. If you're able to build up a Drake lead as JDG, as we already mentioned, it makes it so much harder for LNG, even if you get to the point where like Zika outskills, right, is able to win the 1v1, Scout can easily kill Knight, because if you're facing a Soul, what you gonna do?
Yeah, they might even go for a late invade here as Knight and 369 have come over. They just want to get the Raptor ward, but I would also like to point out it's an Ignite Cassante in topside for 369. He is not messing around. This is a champion that can go from tank to assassin pretty quickly with the press of one button, and now he's going to bring Ignite for those takedowns, try and take down Akali. Definitely does help trying to keep track of that champion as well. We'll see about the extra edge here versus Camille.
And it's really interesting because I think Cassante is actually a really good champion specifically for 369, because he's playing with Ruler, there's the misconception that he cannot play carry. He can. and Cassante is both a tank and a carry, and particularly with Ignite, if Zika missteps and 369 gets an early laning lead, it can take away so much of the power of LNG's comp.
I love you bringing it up because the origins of 369.
Yeah, right. This is what I was going to talk about as well.
They were as a carry top laner.
Exactly.
And it's simply because the demands of the way the game is designed now, and obviously having Knight and Ruler on his team, he has become this premier tank player. But sometimes people get carried away with the stories when you consistently play a similar style. They feel like you can only do that. Definitely not the case with him. Very versatile.
Yeah, a little bit different to Cuve, who also had the Ruler treatment. However, he could only play tanks, as it turned out. Hey, I remember 369 in the bottom lane on Wukong, just decimating people. As speaking of which, we've got a little bit of a battle going on here towards this bottom side. LNG taking the wrong end of that stick. Ruler pushing things in with missing, and of course the range advantage going to allow them to do so.
Exactly. Every time you play against an Alistar as a double range, you had better be pushing. You're going to try and use your level 2. Sometimes they'll call junglers early, but it looks like they have not, and they're allowing Kanavi to just full clear on this Vi. I do like that. Vi is a fairly scaling jungler, really, really good for setting up plays later, allowing this team to scale, and Missing and Ruler already a turret plate taken for themselves, really trying to abuse it early on. we'll see if Hong pulls out some of his classic engages with this Alistar. Maybe once you get a reset from Tarzan after the first Scuttle Crab is taken. I expect the Scuttle Crabs to just be traded, but Scout is getting chunked pretty low early on, holding onto his potion.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday as well when Chovy played FLICKR. Like, the early laning phase is just incredibly rough as they go in.
Headbutt pulled towards that bottom side. Hung looking for the stun, does manage to get it onto Missing. He's down to 200 health, but Ruler is standing his ground and they can't push further forward. But getting that health trade, definitely good for LNG.
Yeah, it looks like Missing not too scared. No panic summoners blown by them, so they won't really feel the pain as far as the cooldowns are done. And they're going to get their reset off here. I think Ruler pretty happy with the opening stages. In the end, they also just trade those Scuttle Crabs for the junglers. Scout gets his reset off on the Akali. You were mentioning the game yesterday and that Akali, and one of the things is you don't want to fight around a level 4 Akali generally, and we did definitely see that, so LNG avoiding it. Scout gets back, no problem.
Yeah, I remember Peanut jumping into multiple people on his Kazakhs. What is really important here to me is to see how LNG is going to be able to actually absorb this pressure, because now you kind of get into the chain with GALA and Hung both backing, where Ruler and Missing are just going to keep the pressure on, are going to have favorable resets every single time. And again, I think one Drake is still okay, but if JDG gets up to 2 Drakes very early on due to this bot prio, LNG is going to be forced to respond. Now see that the Missing also keeping the pressure up. That's actually really big, able to cancel those backs.
Yeah, and now GALA and Hung underneath their turret going to have to pick up as much CS as they can get and find another opportunity to get that back off. Still, not a whole lot of pressure towards that bottom side. You're expecting that to be shoved in for JDG. It's whether these solo lanes can find advantages for LNG. It's a 1-3-1 composition. The bottom side of the map just needs to hold on so that you can find these opportunities for Zika and Scout to play the sides.
And those are going to come probably in the next minute or two here. Once you get the level 6 for Akali, that's when Scout can actually start looking for things. The problem is that Kanavi has been power farming here on the Vi, and he's trying to rush to his level 6 as quickly as possible as well to try and be able to answer that move in mid.
And Scout actually looking for a little bit of damage. 5-point strike going to connect on Tonight, who misses the dissonance against the invisible Akali. Of course, difficult one to hit.
Yeah, I love it. Going for the aggressive trade, trying to soften them up before pre-level 6. Also, Wow Hong is roaming here with Tarzan, trying to make use of their support jungle timer. Meanwhile, Kanavi finishes up those Krugs and heads on over to support them. Is it going to be a lane gank? I don't think they have a reason to go super aggressive. Hung is clearing out the ward, though, and they have Tarzan hanging in the river brush.
Yeah, and
can they bait him in?
And Tarzan senses that something's up. Waiting in this brush here, we'll see whether Kanavi does show himself, and there he goes. Sweeper has been activated. Tarzan going to be spotted here by his former trainee. Both of them, of course, coming up through Griffin. Very fun story.
Yeah, I love the history here. You know, such respect as well between these two junglers. Tarzan definitely has been one of my favorite over the years just because of how creative he is, like weaving in redemption into his builds oftentimes, really playing for the team, trying to always set them up. But in this case, it is just going to be a draw on the bottom side, and we continue farming away with JDG coming out with a very nice lead with those turret plates, with the farm advantages for themselves early on. This bodes quite well for how secure their champion roster is right now. If they can get to those 5-on-5s, feels pretty good. Tarzan will take the opportunity, though, to grab themselves the first objective.
Yeah, that's really big. I think as LNG, the more leeway you can buy for yourself to be able to draw JDG towards the mid-late game across the map, the happier you are going to be. Kanavi has its 6 now, though, and I think Vi, one of the few junglers that can actually reliably lock down the Akali, as long as Scout is a little bit further up the lane, doesn't get to jump back to his own turret.
Yeah, and the other benefit of grabbing this dragon for LNG, if they do disperse into side lanes later on, they don't have to worry too much about JDG trying to pull them into another 5-on-5. It basically buys you 5 minutes later into the game, and those are going to be a very precious 5 minutes to have.
Absolutely. Of course, tempo is so much more important if you are trying to play 1-3-1. It's why we don't see it all that often, because there are so many steps that you need to take for side lanes to be a win condition for a lot of these compositions. It's why we see mainly team fight coming in. So things already working against LNG after the draft, but we'll see whether they can execute, because if there is a 1-3-1 composition that can work, it is built like this.
All right, this is pretty big because Tarzan needs to finish his Raptors to get level 6. Looks like he didn't even get the level 6 off his Raptors, but Kanavi leashes the Rift Herald anyway. The small timing advantage is pushed out because Hong comes straight through mid lane. The cow rampages on through, kind of bluffs them off of it for a second, and that buys enough time for Tarzan to finish his red, get his level 6 on Lee Sin, see if they want to do anything about it. Both supports also leeching that experience in mid lane.
Yep, 4v4 potential here. Around this Rift Herald is already. Zika's diving in. There's the Hextech ultimatum. Q is going to connect as Kanavi taken down to half health. 369 in trouble. As the Camille is so low that his first blood going over to Knight to start this one up. Hung should be the next one on the menu, and there it is. But Ruler is down, missing. It's so incredibly low, and there's the perfect execution from Scout. He's trying to do what he can. He finds the backflip, but now he's the last man standing for LNG. Can he get Kanavi on the way out? And yes, he can. He's looking for even more, taking no. Oh, there it is. As finally Knight finishes it off 4-3. What the heck was that?
Wait, the eyeball died right before he got there.
Pick it up.
He was pixels away from picking up that eyeball. He did not get it.
And while all of that was happening, a solo kill happened in the bot lane as well. So across the entire map, pure carnage. GALA, known for its Kai'Sa, catches Ruler unaware. The late flash, the auto, and the perfect execution there. And then on the other end, here we see the team fighting power for JDG initially seems to be enough. And by the end, it's not.
The best part is the Red Rover, send one member over from 369. He actually uses Cassante ultimate to isolate one target away, and then Kanavi can Vi ultimate to the target to also be able to get to the rest of the team. That way, JDG kind of collapses into their own jungle and gets the early lead in the fight. Scout doing his best, though, to try and get something back. He dies in front. The eyeball just disappears in front of his fingers.
That is just heartbreaking.
That's painful.
Already, he was the hero of that team fight for LNG, and then he almost manages to get all that potential money. Oh, just a whisker. Still denying it, I guess. There's some positives as well.
The main issue, I think, for LNG is that if all those kills go over, right, to Scout, it looks like a lot, but they're getting 1 kill on Tarzan, 1 kill on Scout. If he got fed, if he was able to accelerate the point of the game, although GALA might be in trouble here.
Yeah, Vaultbreaker going to be charged up as GALA is in trouble, and he's just dead. Ruler is going to get his revenge there towards that bottom side. Shockwave going to connect onto Scout in mid lane. He's not heading down towards that bottom lane this time around, and now Ruler, he can just wipe out these minions and look for more plates.
And now it feels like LNG is somewhat flustered, right? We have the dive set up, then the teleport, which gets cancelled, which means that Scout's going to have an even harder time because, as I was saying earlier, Knight was actually the big benefactor of that fight. He is so fed, already built up a Siastic, now also 2 kills to his name. It's going to be so much harder for LNG to keep him down.
Oh my, every time I watch JDG play, I'm just like, this is such a team game. So many advantages through the synergies, through the team play there. I mean, they have GALA trying to have the spotlight himself. He solo kills Ruler, and Ruler calls in the boys. That's not allowed. Time to tower dive. They got their revenge on the other side of the map, and now you see the gold lead here ballooning for JDG despite the early dragon take from LNG. Now this team that is about a 5-on-5, about a team fight, should be able to get right back on course with those objectives. Currently, though, Kanavi with his ultimate ready is on top side, trying to clear out the extra vision for 369.
And Zika just going to see what he can do to try and keep himself alive. Right now, Kanavi considering, and there it is. Vaultbreaker going to get charged up, but Zika taking matters into his own hands. Hextech ultimatum comes down as now Scout trying to keep himself alive. Perfect execution, but he's not going to be able to get back into this battle as 369 down very, very low himself. And Knight has control of the minion wave. Q looking for the targets there from Tarzan, but not going to quite get it. And Zika will at least get some experience here. JDG in control.
Pretty good attempt there from JDG, you know, good juggling of tower aggro afterwards, but I like Zika, you know, taking the initiative there. He knows Camille, the stun is going to take priority, so he goes right at Kanavi, and that forces the early ult from Kanavi, so no kill had on the top side. LNG now should be able to secure that bottom side Scuttle Crab to guarantee their vision over Dragon number 2, which JDG might have some eyeballs for.
It is still, though, a lot of gold going in the pockets of JDG, right? They get the crash. Zika has to wait before he can actually pick up the wave, and our plate going going over tonight. It's the second dragon being set up here for LNG. They need this to keep themselves in this game.
And since Kanavi uses ult on the topside dive, they know Vi without ultimate here, not going to be a huge presence. So Tarzan feels very comfortable finishing it up and grabbing themselves number 2.
Also want to highlight the itemization choice here for Knight. Going for that crown, I think, is such a big boon. It is really hard for LNG to consistently proc that. We're no longer in the AP Kai'Sa meta, which I'm very happy about. That wasn't very fun. Yeah, I did not enjoy that build. But it also gives him so much extra safety and time to stall inside lane to avoid the scenario we saw yesterday.
Yeah, you're looking across the line and you see Camille ultimate, Akali. Okay, we see
Speaking
bottom.
across the line, Ruler is going to have the Sonic Wave soaked by his support. He's now ulted, trying to get himself out of here. Down to 200, and he's executed by GALA. That is going to be the kill. LNG, they earned that one.
Yeah, that plasma definitely leaves a sting. GALA gets another one for himself. And that means LNG can push on bottom side too. The turret plates just fall off though. We just hit 14 minutes. GALA can't farm extra money off that.
Additionally, with the Camtech Dragon coming in, as LNG, I think you take that as a win. Even if you do end up giving up a substantial amount of Drakes, if it ended up being like an Inferno, I think the individual Drakes have so much power, but across the board, you're a 1-3-1 comp, and as we see here in the MasterCard lane economy snapshot, every member on the enemy team is ahead.
They forgot to put LNG's ones.
Well, they forgot to put the Dragon lane. Where's the Dragons?
It's the one thing they got.
All right, look at this play
They
though.
also got this.
Tarzan goes in with the ward hop, with the flash. They get him against the wall, and then Plasma is stacked up, so it's only one more auto, and Ruler stays there. He goes for the auto. GALA knows he's going to be able to get it with that one. They take him down.
Shockwave here towards the top side. Scout trying to stay in the shroud. Ults to try and get himself out of there, but there is the cease and desist. And Scout, oh, the clockwork wind up, not enough, but once again, it is going to be command attack coming in. Now it's Knight's turn to fall as Tarzan picks up the kill. Another Q going to connect. As Kanavi should be able to get himself out or back in if that's where he'd like to go. Hung has turned up as well, but 369 is here. Headbutt for the disengage.
Yeah, biggest thing is GALA stayed mid there, so they know that LNG are not going to continue on this fight, and he's getting a lot of damage done on this mid tower. Let's see if JDG can just rotate down, pull out this Rift Herald, and go for it.
And GALA could be in a little bit of trouble here. First Q going to connect there from 369 as he misses the flash over the wall. Still, GALA going to be all right. Teleport coming in to support. LNG 4-man strong here in the mid lane.
I think he went for the evolve. I think that's why he had to blow his flash. If he just walks out of the lane,
it's
he's
an
fine.
ambition move. Sorry, that is a very, that's like 2013, I'm sorry.
I know what you're talking about.
He's not Kha'Zix. Oh, Hug! Okay, Shuriken backflip, not going to quite connect onto 369. I thought that was going to. Might have grazed a buttock there on its way through, but doesn't actually land.
Rift Herald, though, has been pulled out of the pit. They're messing around. Let's see if they take the fight. Looks like they've got the reset coming from base here. Lulu's on the way.
369 waiting in the brush, but is spotted on that control ward. GALA keeping his distance as Hung just being the bodyguard as the cow. They should be able to take this one, and the eye is collected this time around. JDG not quite grouped up in time. Objective going over to LNG. So, 3 of them, I guess 4 of them so far this game, although the eye wasn't collected for the first
There's a flank. There's a flank.
Mega cone!
Okay,
Scout is going deep.
See whether he can actually catch up to them. Q did connect onto 369, but it's going to dissipate. No resonating strike this time, and he's still waiting. They're still trying to find that opportune moment. No. Doesn't happen.
Too dangerous, too dangerous. JDG not going to split apart. They don't leave the opening. Even though Knight doesn't have summoner spells, he does, as you say, have that Crown of the Shattered Queen. So let's take another look at it. And Scout, because he's able to dodge here, he walked back. The sweeper's a little delayed on the reveal, so he was able to walk back and draw them deep enough under tower that it allows Tarzan the counterplay here to even it up and grab mid laner for mid laner. And then, as we already pointed out, GALA stayed mid, so they didn't want any more.
Also a big shutdown, actually a really big influx of gold. Because Knight already picked up multiple kills, sitting on a pretty big bounty, so Tarzan going to be relevant for a little bit longer. We all know Lee, once we get to the later stage of the game, basically is reduced to a kickbot. But with the amount of damage that I think the rest of LNG is able to provide, if Tarzan is able to stay ahead or even in items, makes a really big difference.
I'd love to have that bot on my team any day of the week in solo queue, the Tarzan bot. If it can play as well as him, deal.
I don't think the AI's quite got to that level just yet, Kobe, but we'll just have to wait. Maybe it will get accelerated. Yeah, Tarzan, like, you talk about the kickbot situation. Tarzan does things on Lee Sin that are pretty extraordinary. So I have a feeling that he should be able to stand the test of time.
Oh, he's a don't get me wrong.
It's a pretty good one.
It's not a Tarzan problem. It's a Lee problem.
We'll see what he can do, even if the champion is going to fall off. Because I think that having the pick potential and the fact that Lee Sin is so good in skirmishes, if you're playing for side lanes, if you're playing for skirmishes rather than team fights, I think the relevance will be held onto for a little bit longer.
This is going to be a critical dragon spawn here. So LNG, in order to get priority, they're going to drop the Rift Herald mid. It does pull out the teleport from 369. They don't want to give up position. Vision here through the river as Dragon is already up will be paramount. They take down that Rift Herald. It doesn't get any sort of charge off, and they push it right back. They're going to get the turret before.
Yeah, Extender Beam going to come through there, and it's as if it was JDG that dropped the Herald because they got full control of that mid lane. See LNG going to move Zika towards this bottom side of the map to look to crack open that outer turret. Close to 2,000 gold, a little bit more going to be the lead here for JDG. So far, the early game going well for them, but this should even things out. Just one kept Tech Drake is basically what LNG have bought. With the fact that they've collected the 2 early Drakes, they can afford to give these up. But now Hung in a little bit of trouble potentially. Kanavi can close the distance quite easily. Q not going to connect there from 369. The Alistar isn't out of the woods just yet. Kanavi going to get headbutted back, but Zika's not going to be able to protect the cow. Going to have to flash to get himself out of the way, and now the Drake is going to be taken. Tarzan! It's highway robbery here from LNG.
It's merely a distraction, cow, Atlas. Look down to the bottom lane. Hung deceives them all while the rest of the team picks up Dragon number 3.
They don't even get the cow. The cow just walks off. They get cow
They
and
got his
Dragon.
flash. You know,
Well,
there you go.
I don't think that's worth it. He's hex flashing. It's a magical cow.
It's actually even better for the cow.
I'm voting for Hung for Oscar. Really nicely played there by LNG.
So he's going up against Lahens.
Yeah, up against
we
Lahens,
got to keep a running track of that category because that was really well done. You see there as well. I think the one thing that JDG might run into trouble with that we pointed out in draft as well is against a 1-3-1 comp in particular. I think often you want to try and hard collapse. But the hard engage on JDG is fairly lacking. 369, the Ignite helps in the 1v1, but it does take away from the Q-free flash that we've seen be a really good tool to start fights. So it really is only Kanavi that can go for the snap engages, and I think LNG playing very well around that.
Some big damage numbers there coming from the JDG solo laner so far. But the pressure is now going to be turned on them as far as the Dragons. With LNG being able to sneak that last one, completely changes how the setup does go. And side lane towers are going to start to fall. So finally we'll start to see what we were talking about in Champ Select. If LNG can make some of these picks with the Camille ultimate, locking somebody in, GALA killer instinct to follow through a long distance.
Or do you just let them have Chemtech Soul and team fight for Elder?
Not gonna lie,
I'm not kidding.
I think that
I'm not kidding, Kobe.
LNG have now bought themselves 20 minutes. I don't think they ever go back to the Dragon Pit until it's a really big dragon.
It's a trap.
100%. Because if you're flipping for Elder, the team fight team's going to be feeling pretty good about it. LNG now considering the Baron, of course, something that you will need to pay attention to if they can catch JDG insides, trying to keep these waves in order. That's their opportunity.
Well, the best part, fellas, is that you don't have to give those dragons away for free either if you're LNG. Baron is on the map, and it's a viable target. You've got plenty of DPS. GALA's on 2 items here on the Kai'Sa, so you can constantly threaten JDG. When they go down, they think they're going to get their free, dragon in exchange. You take from them side lane pressure. You take from them possibilities of going towards Baron, and you really start to pull this team apart.
There's also still a ton of gold standing on the top half of the map, right? There are still the 2 turrets. So the moment that JDG slightly overextends into making sure that they start stacking those dragons, that they get the objective, could provide an opportunity, particularly for the Camille, to mow down these objectives and really accelerate to the point where eventually Zika's going to be able to just blow up anyone that tries to face him.
Really, we're going to be looking at, how well LNG can use their mobility, because JDG relies so much on Kanavi's engage. If he's not able to get a good Vi ultimate into Shockwave, then LNG have so many options as far as pushing out elsewhere.
Yeah, and everything comes down to that as well, because you want to layer things like wild growth and stuff like that. All of the CC that's there is sort of conditional, right? Like, of course, you can move the orb, but if you've got the Vi with that ball delivery system, can certainly make things a little bit better. And I did kind of tell a lie, because there is no way Ruler would let that wild growth be used on anyone other than him, but you know what I'm talking about. Hung now Just positioning himself, trying to get some vision here around the Baron. That is going to be something that LNG really need to pay attention to.
So they've got the key binding in game for target champions only, but missing added a special one that's target ruler only.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that what you're
No.
saying?
They've taken out target champions only. Like, it's just target ruler only.
Okay,
for
got
missing.
it.
Like, that's the only one he's allowed.
Yeah.
You can't even consider the other one.
We have the one caveat, which is his ruler. If not, it's not within 2 turrets distance, right? Like if it's the other end of the map.
Okay.
But maybe it's I don't know. Not knowing ruler and the way that he demands attention and his kills. Wouldn't be surprised if even then he would raise a little bit of ruckus. We'll see, though. I think it's going to be really telling how JDG and LNG are going to respond to this Drake that's spawning in about a minute, right? Are we actually going to see LNG try and team fight to get themselves that, or are they going to try and get objectives on the other end of the map? Right now, Zika is in top, unmatched, trying to push down those turrets.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for JDG because they have to keep track of vision around Baron at the very least. LNG, at least at the minimum, would get like topside turret. If they overcommit for it, and JDG getting that vision we're talking about right now.
Speaking of which,
Ward not actually being spotted.
So full vision for LNG, for what feels like for free. JDG not going to be sweeping in there, probably assuming that that control ward does manage to mow down the whole of the pit. And now Knight's starting it up, and it is on full vision for LNG. Let's see how they respond. As you can see, Tarzan in the back of the pit. No one knows that the Lee Sin is there with full information as to what's going on. Now they do, as the Sonic Wave does fly in, but Zika is on the flank angle, and these pincer movements can work out when you have a Camille on your team. The Orb is now trying to keep them in check, but Kanavi locks down the Baron. Now Tarzan dives in, he breaks his stopwatch, but Ruler has been kicked out immediately. He pops back over, and the team fight team is popping off. Ruler unchecked in the pit, and he's just going to grab as many kills as he would like. It's 2 for now, but GALA is running for the hills.
Oh, JDG dare LNG to enter the arena. Please jump in. Kanavi has the confidence. Oh, they're going for GALA. They can.
The Mega Cone is going to disengage GALA for now. Does he have the supercharge? I believe he does. He's going to be able to get himself out of there. Kanavi now going to deny the first Chemtech Drake for JDG. And Ruler going to take down an inner turret.
You got to have some big confidence to be able to smite fight against the Lee Sin. And Kanavi does. He hits it. And then the shockwave is so big.
To be honest, though, I don't even know if JDG, if they lose this Baron, I think they're still happy. They just want to fight. You see as well, Nitro, so much attention. Stopwatch keeps him alive. And even with Ruler not in the fight, the work being done by 369 is that double knockback. And GALA, he just doesn't get to walk up because everything is happening in the pit. If he moves forward, he gets blown up in an instant.
And it's always, it's so unfortunate as well because the kick is used onto Ruler, who just effortlessly skates over the wall and he's back in the fight, right? Like it's not going to perform that disengage that you want to break up this fight so that it works for LNG. And JDG, this is how they win this game. They mind control LNG into 5v5s.
Wow. Wow. I love it too, because LNG had almost painted JDG into a corner with the dragon stacking. But JDG knew our vision around Baron would be too hard to defend while going for dragon. So we are just going to start up the Baron ourselves, force the issue, and they come out rolling at the very top here. Now it's just going to be straight on through, murder these towers.
And it's dominoes, isn't it? Basically, like after that team fight is won, now JDG, they have the Baron, they have that extra push power. There is no way that side lanes can be a win condition here, and it does put once again into perspective the danger of trying to play a composition like this for LNG. But JDG, they just picked their team fight comp. Now they are knocking on the door of LNG and looking to move up to 1-0 in this best of 3.
It's just the power. If you don't have engage, who cares? Force the enemy to go into you. Zika's trying to keep the wave away or trying to keep the pressure up, but his base is going to smithereens.
Yep, in a turret for Nexus may not be the trade they're looking for, but there's the cease and desist, and Tarzan will acquiesce that one. LNG now trying to defend, but without their jungler, and now 369 is unstoppable. The Hextech ultimatum is one that they don't care about at all. As 369, he's going down low. Scout's trying to get what he can. Void Seek is going to work out. There is still an inhibitor turret there in the mid lane, but it's not quite going to be enough. And now the Nexus is exposed. GALA is looking for Ruler. Ruler wants a rematch of the 1v1 from earlier, and GALA's making it work. Ruler goes golden and says, all right, Knight, you can take that one. And JDG will take down the Nexus here in game number 1.
The team game, Atlas, and the 5-on-5 still win, despite the early dragons for LNG. They don't get enough of the split done. They don't get enough of the picking off done. They go in, they take the dare for the Baron steal. They lose the fight and lose the game.
And there you see as well, I think that one of the things outside of the team fighting power that makes JDG such a tough team to deal with is how well they are aware of what they need to do, what the limitations of their own composition are, while simultaneously not allowing to play their opponents their own game.
Exactly right. And now it is time to throw it back to the desk to break down that game number 1. And gentlemen, I just want more. Just one more. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much. One more, hopefully 2 more. We'll see. Indeed, JDG walks away with the win. Yeah, well, indeed. It seemed to me that JDG, obviously, they had some good lanes. And LNG, I feel like, drafted themselves, not even drafted themselves, but in the game put themselves in a position where they gave themselves very precise and narrow windows that were very risky.
I think overall, the idea of let's ban out Ruler and then see what happens is like, it's an okay strategy, but the way it actually played out was they didn't have any pushing lanes, yet they had a dive comp. So unless you drastically outplay the opponent, that's almost never going to work.
But I will say, they actually played really well towards, base timings. Ruler was basing early, they get first dragon, they're stacking up dragons, which generally, when you're playing a comp, Akali, Camille, you want to be able to split the map. Dragons are going to give you time to do that. So I think, they did in the early game still set themselves up pretty well, but it was such an interesting draft because there were so many firsts coming through in the Swiss stage here from Worlds. It was the first Zeri, the first Lulu, the first Camille, the first time we've seen Ignite Cassante.
Yeah.
And some of these were also first for the entire tournament.
Yeah.
And I can't personally remember the last time I saw an Ignite Cassante in Pro. It is extremely rare.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see, even on this day 3, how quickly things are kind of evolving. We obviously saw Gen.G bring out the Akali mid yesterday. Yes, it got buffed recently in the patches, but it hadn't been getting played at all. And then the following day, another top team is bringing that out.
And I'd also say, we get the Ignite Cassante because it's against Camille, and we get the Lulu because they're almost trying to, cheat these winning lanes. So it's not like any team would just be able to pick these champions and execute them to this level. So I do have to commend JDG for being able to get 3 pushing lanes against what LNG had for their comp.
We focused on a mid lane matchup before this, right? And Scout elected to go for the Akali, which you can get an advantage now that you know that the Orianna is so strong in this World Championship, the Zeri is so strong. You want to find another way to attack this. And I want to look in that light at that first Herald fight that we saw, which was incredibly chaotic, but you think if he could have gotten another kill, maybe this looks different.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And something Fudge was talking about in an interview yesterday was basically the top lane meta had just been bruisers because of the importance of these early Herald fights. And 369 was such a difference maker. The amount that the Cassante got done compared to the Camille really exemplifies why we're seeing picks like this and Jax and Aatrox so much more often than the Camille.
Yeah, and I really do think this fight actually was LNG's best chance to win the game if they could have gotten there before the Lulu hit level 6, because in that case, Alistar would have been able to bring so much more to the fight than the Lulu. Once Lulu gets ultimate, though, I feel like it becomes a bit more of an even fight. And once they can win that 4v4, you can see the fact that they had advantages individually in all 5 roles in terms of gold. So that's a hard thing to overcome when they're also the best team fighting team in the world.
Yes, exactly. And they kept their eye on the Drakes. Of course, there was even one that was expertly taken away, even though JDG had started it. But you felt it that it was going to come down to or an Elder Drake fight, maybe later on, or the Baron that was going to come. And how did LNG approach this? Do you agree?
I mean, yeah, I think it definitely was going to come down to these big objective fights. This was really risky, though, because JDG misplaced their pink ward, so the ward in the back of the pit gave vision to Tarzan. And you're flipping it against the Lee Sin, who has better smites here than the Vi. So I was getting nervous for JDG seeing this, but at the end of the day, whether the smite came through or not for Tarzan, it would not have mattered because JDG obliterate them in the 5v5. And this is why when I've talked to some of the LPL teams, and I've asked them sometimes, why do your teams go for these crazy fights, these risky Barons? And they're saying, well, it doesn't actually matter if we secure the Baron. That's why we're not peeling off, because we know we're going to win the 5v5. So starting the Baron is just a vehicle to make them come and fight us.
Yeah.
And through that lens, a play like that makes a lot more sense, because I think that in the West, we would be flaming this team for, oh my God, no one's marking Lee Sin. Are you kidding me? You flipped that? What if they stole it? They're saying, we made them come. We win 5v5. GG.
the whole point is, haha, Lee Sin is in the pit now.
Yeah.
It's like, that was the goal.
You came to me, now you're dead.
You made it work. Exactly. I think it's interesting to highlight these things that we see differently. I've noticed a couple of things, actually. But, of course, this series is going to be, is going to go like usual series go. LNG knows the way this has gone. So where does their adaptation lie? It's only a best of 3, right? So to get to the quarterfinal, you got to win that next game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky. I would like to see Knight on a control mage. I think obviously they should take blue side, which I think I see right now they have selected blue side, which is going to be better because their red side ban of getting rid of all the 80 carries and then having the Orianna first pick didn't work. Yes, the Akali did work yesterday for Chovy against FLICKR, but that's because he was able to get to a state where he's actually isolated in the side lanes, get FLICKR, and has time to execute. In the 4 games that LNG actually did beat JDG in the playoffs, 2 of them were with a scout on his ear and 2 of them were on LeBlanc. So I also expect JDG to just keep perma-ing LeBlanc every game, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think it just depends on LNG's read on, was it the fault of the picks in that game or was it the fault of the execution? Because you're saying, hey, had they won that first fight, then maybe the game goes differently. So they may still have confidence in their picks, but they are changing over to blue side, and they are going to be able to, try to draft a more standard comp if they want to.
My experience, draft is rarely the problem, but usually the solution. So they're going to change it up.
There we go. It is match point already for JDG. That was fast. Hope that LNG can elongate this series when we come back after this.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Tap, light it, open it, close it, and text it, and send it, snap it. Come on, let's see the brightness, and just feel the lightness. So impressive, be expressive.